Most people know Eudora Welty as the Pulitzer Prize-winning author from Jackson, Mississippi. But did you know she was an avid gardener as well? Her home and its grounds, now a National Historic Landmark, have welcomed visitors from around the world since 2004. Visitors to Welty's home can enjoy its beautiful grounds, which have been restored to appear much as they would have between 1925 and 1945, when Welty and her mother Chestina were actively gardening together. The garden was designed by Eudora's mother, Chestina Welty, in the 1920s. Chestina was a dedicated amateur horticulturist with a schoolteacher's love of accuracy, and she applied this precision to gardening. She thought that a good garden started with a plan, and her plan included, as she wrote in her journal, arrangement, balance, unity, color, and succession of bloom. Eudora worked alongside Chestina in the garden for much of her young adult life, weeding, planting, and cultivating. After her father Christian's untimely death in 1931, 22-year-old Eudora and her mother sought solace in the garden. Eudora wrote, "No experience could have taught me more about grief or flowers, about achieving survival by going, your fingers in the ground, the limit of physical exhaustion." Welty again turned to the garden for comfort during the trying times of the Second World War. She spent most of her days tending the garden, taking comfort from creating order within its borders. This helped her occupy her mind as she often worried about her brothers, friends, and beau who were all away fighting in the war. The garden also fostered Welty's creativity. Once, after observing her mother call up to a young helper who was atop a ladder, pruning painfully thorny bushes as thunderclouds approached, she wrote that it was like a story falling all over the garden, and noted it was the first time I had consciously placed myself at a storyteller's remove, right there on the spot. Welty peppered garden references throughout her published works, including character names and mentions of over 150 varieties of plants. In her constant conversations and correspondences with friends, Eudora discussed her garden's newest developments, failed experiments, and exciting blooms. She often sent sketches, photographs, and cuttings along with her letters, allowing her friends to experience her garden with her, no matter how far away they were. The garden, while still an important facet of Welty's family life, began a slow decline in the post-war period. Eudora's career flourished, taking her away from home for extended periods. When she found herself at home, she spent most of her time writing, which often left Chestina to tend the garden alone. In the 1960s, Eudora put her career on hold as she cared for her mother, whose health was declining. Chestina passed away in 1966, followed by Eudora's brother Edward's death only 4 days later. Eudora translated her grief into her novel The Optimist's Daughter, which was awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1973. Welty gave her home to the state of Mississippi in the 1980s to be maintained by the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. She continued to live there for the rest of her life. After acquiring the home and grounds, MDAH tapped then-employee Susan Haltom to work with Eudora to plan the garden's restoration. After much planning, researching, and hard work, the garden was restored to its former glory. It opened to the public in 2004. The restored Welty Garden is home to many heirloom plants not commonly available in commercial nurseries. There are tea roses, climbing roses, daylilies, flowering shrubs, and many native plants and trees throughout. There are also more than 30 varieties of Welty's favorite flower, the camellia. In fact, many of the camellias on site were planted or grafted by Welty herself. With its unending parade of bloom, the garden beckons visitors to reflect on the beauty of nature and to find their own voices and passions within themselves. Eudora once wrote, "The outside world is a vital component to my inner life. My imagination takes its strength and guides its direction from what I see and hear and learn and feel and remember of my living world." The Welty's Garden has become a beautiful, living exhibit. We hope that you will visit soon and see it for yourself.